Okay, so let's actually talk about this. So as we said before, um, Ramsey's give police high-tech boots, in light of everything with Anderson Cooper and stuff like that, and the Ramseys, mentioning that everything doesn't belong to them, and the high-tech boots belong to some sort of intruder. So Christopher Anderson writes this article in the Daily Camera. This is Colorado. Among information John and Patsy provided to the police this month are a pair of high-tech boots obtained by one of the couple's private investigators. Colorado Springs private detective Ollie Gray said Wednesday he believes the size 8.5 leather and nylon boots could be the ones that JonBenét's killer wore inside the Ramsey home where the little girl was found dead. When I see 8.5, I think this belongs to a woman. And this takes me to Patsy's um, her sweater fibers being found in the paint tray, and wondering, did you paint that morning or did you paint that afternoon? Couldn't have been that morning because you were at Christmas, so couldn't have been that. um you made breakfast after that, and I think the book says, I think Death of Innocence talks about what happened afterwards, where everybody kind of got in the kitchen and kind of helped out a little bit and kind of as a family and stuff like that. So would have had to be, like afternoon. You can't do it in the evening. So had to be that afternoon, that if you would have been messing with that prior to the death or prior to any staging or framing, it probably would have been around breakfast or the afternoon or something like that. So we'll just let that rest. But when I see 8.5, these shoes are either going to be Burke's or they're going to be John's. If Burke had big feet as a child, or bigger feet as a 9-year old, I don't know the average shoe size of a 9-year old, so I don't know. But I know some women who wear a size 8, grown women, and they're typically around, man, I'll be honest with you, they're like 5'4" all the way to like 5'11", who wear like a size 8, 8.5, maybe even like a 9. So this is, to me, this my first initial thought was, this is a woman. These are women's shoes. Um, if Burke's shoes are not big enough, these are like women's shoes. So moving on, um, we have Chief Beckner. He says there's a possibility, it's good possibility they could match the killer. Boulder Police Chief Mark Beckner said he ordered the boots to be analyzed at the CBI lab, Colorado Bureau of Investigation lab. If you look at them, they look pretty close, he said. You really can't tell. But Beckner said he is waiting for the lab results before he gets too excited about the possible lead. We've had other boots that look like they matched as well. He said the footprint remains one of the mysteries of the unsolved December 96. I think I'll call this struggle in the death of JonBenét Ramsey. Police found, I think it says, police found a partial footprint with the words Hi-Tec in the basement of the Ramsey home. Uh, some say the footprint could have been left behind by a construction worker or plumber when the house was under renovation, or inadvertently by a police officer who worked the crime scene. Others, including the Ramseys, have said they believe it could have been from the intruder who killed their daughter. I'll bet it could have. So, police asked about the discovery of the red fiber near JonBenét's body, possibly matching Patsy Ramsey's red and black jacket, but the Ramsey's attorney object objected to any questions. Oh, did you now? Originally published, there it goes. I was looking for that. Originally published August 31 of 2000. You objected. I asked you, hey, what about these? Oh, he did object because he was asking Michael Caine, special prosecuting attorney Michael Caine, who was working under DA Hunter. He was asking him. He's like, well, is it they? Because they were asking Patsy. They said, hey, there's this red fiber. You said you were wearing like a red jacket or something like that. There's this red fiber that was found here. Did that belong to you? And it's like it's linked to you. Well, and Linwood was like, well, is it factual? Is that factual? Is that scientific? Is that and Kane was just like, I mean, as much as we can say, we can't put a fiber on a jacket or on anywhere, but I'm saying, you were wearing a red jacket. This came, or a red sweater. There's red in this box. So I mean, and so what, his job to do is to deflect. His job is to deflect, of course. And he's going to do that. But that does not make it truthful, right? It doesn't mean that he is correct in that this has nothing to do with Patsy, because Patsy could have very well been in that tray earlier on that day or whatnot. But the fact that you're objecting, because Patsy could have just came out and said, oh no, I was painting earlier that day. Yeah, my fibers would have been in there because I've been wearing this. I was wearing that all day. And so after I had a little time to myself, the kids were upstairs playing. I went and painted, so yeah. And I was leaning over that tray, getting everything out. So that could have been in there. She didn't say that though. Lynn Wood interjected and got in the way. That's what's weird. Now, I told you guys last video, I did have a video from a creator on TikTok that I wanted to review. So let me pull that up now. So here, when we talk about specifically the Hi-Tec boot, whether it's the Intruders or not, and whether or not it's more probable to the Ramseys. This creator, Art History Abby, on TikTok. This is on TikTok, so I'm pulling it straight from there. Art History Abby, and that's ARTHISTORYABBY. Once again, that's ARTHISTORYABBY. If you want to go follow her, give her a follow. Show her some love. And she doesn't know me, so this is just a video I found on this, and I thought she did great research. So she went and looked up different boots around that time to kind of analyze and assess and say what's probable according to what they found. And this is, I really like this research, so I'm going to show it here that she did.
Burke Ramsey own a pair of Hi-Tec? Did Burke Ramsey own a pair of Hi-Tec boots? Maybe. And this information comes from interviews conducted with John and Patsy Ramsey in Atlanta in 2000. So allegedly, and we don't know this for sure because grand jury records are sealed, but Special Prosecutor Levin said that Burke had indicated that he owned a pair of Hi-Tec boots, but there's no way to check that or read the context or see how the question was framed or how it was answered. But anyway, in this interview with Patsy Ramsey, they're asking her, prior to 1996, which is important, when your son, do you recall when your son purchased a pair of hiking boots that had compasses on the shoelaces? And she couldn't remember. John Ramsey also couldn't remember if the brand was Hi-Tec, or if it was a pair of sneakers, which Hi-Tec does make sneakers in addition to hiking boots. But in addition to Burke, it's alleged that Fleet White's son also said that he and Burke both had pairs of Hi-Tec boots, which wouldn't be uncommon. I'm sure they were a popular shoe given that they lived in Colorado. I'm sure a lot of people.
Correct, because a lot of people, I would say like a lot of people, a lot of places have their own, they have their own like style, right? Ways that you dress, especially in colder areas where there's a lot of terrain that you have to go. You're probably going to, wear thicker clothes, and you're going to probably wear shoes that are better able to handle that the mountainous terrain, right? Okay, you go to New York, you know what I mean? You're going to see a lot of Timberlands. Not everybody's going to dress in Timberlands, but that might be, especially in the boroughs, that might be more in certain areas. That might be more likely than not that you might see a bunch of Timberlands and stuff like that and whatnot. So yes. So it could be the case that John and Patsy and even Fleet, John and Patsy to me seem to be very much when in Rome. Hey, this is this what you guys wear here in Colorado? Okay, cool. We'll go get us a pair. Babe, go down to the the local Payless. I don't know where you buy these shoes at that time. You know what I mean? Go down to Just for Feet or something like that. I don't know. Maybe you guys didn't have a Just for Feet. I know it was in Houston. I love Just for Feet. I loved it. Oh man, that was my favorite store. Anyways, Nike outlet, wherever, these shoes were. Go down, get us a pair for everybody so we can all make sure that we're able to handle this Colorado terrain. That makes sense. And they get these shoes not knowing that they might show up somewhere else important.
On the shoe. However, in the 2016 interview with Dr. Phil, Dr. Phil asks him about the hiking boots. And Burke says, I don't recall what the exact brand was, but I do remember that they had compasses on them. To which Dr. Phil states, well, that's evidence that, was allegedly used against you. And he said, yeah, but Burke said, yeah, but that was my house. And I spent a lot of time in the basement playing with the train set. And there were 3 models of shoes that
Let me stop you right there. You done pushed and pulled. And you done tugged. And you done hurked and you done jerked. I'm just trying to ask you a simple question. Do you remember your son having shoes with a compass on them? See, when you start one lie, you got to follow it up with another lie. That's what you got to do. No, remember that. Oh. No, I don't remember that. I don't remember that at all. I don't remember no compass. Never seen it. We'll have to ask somebody else, detective. Next question. Just a little while later, though, after Patsy passes. See, this is exactly why Burke ain't never been by himself and he's never been on TV. Because this is the second thing that he done jumped on Dr. Phil and said that's out of pocket and made people go, huh? But your parents told us that you were asleep all night. That's what we were told. That's what we've been led to believe all these years. They said you were asleep. But you're now telling us that you woke up later and came back downstairs to crack this toy open. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. What about the shoes that they said belonged to the plumber or the construction worker? Oh yeah, it wouldn't have been. I mean, yeah, I had shoes that were. I think I remember I had shoes with a compass on them for sure. I played down there all the time. It was my basement. I know. I know it was your basement. We're not disputing whether the basement belongs to you or not. We're not concerned about that. If that's what you're wondering, but we could care less about who pays property tax on the basement down there, who pays rent. Maybe you got a tenant down there that pays a rent or something like that. We can care less about whose basement it is. What we're trying to find out is what happened in the basement. And you just told us a second lie is that, oh man, yeah, I definitely had some Hi-Tec boots. Then why would your mom and dad tell the police that they don't remember their kid having some boots? I mean, my God. I'm not trying to call them bad parents. I'm not. But sometimes it feels like the way they answer questions, it almost feels like they don't know anything about not only anything, but they don't know anything about their kids. And it's just like, so what? You start. What do you know about this situation? So your boy had Hi-Tec boots, which you told us you didn't think that belonged to you. It actually belonged to the intruder. So Burke's feet must have been possibly 8.5 if these were his shoes. We don't know.
I could find and verify. The first came out in 1992. It was the Columbus, which had a compass on it, and that's this style here. The second was, I believe, the Children's Explorer, which came out in 96, and then there was a model that came out in 1998. But in Boulder police reports, the Hi-Tec boots could not be found in the house, which makes sense if Burke once had the model from 1992, because by 1996 he would have grown out of them.
Not traced back to rents. All investigators have been their shoes tested. So investigators had them too. No match to that size of Hi-Tec boot to the Ramseys or the police investigators. Additional partial shoes were found near JonBenét's basement storage. These footprints said that FBI could never match them to anyone or to any brand. Isn't that funny? Can't even find the brand of shoe. You know, you would think at least they would be able to find what brand it was. Something like that. But can't even do that. That's half the battle.
And probably not have them anymore. And here's a picture of the alleged print that was left in the wine cellar room near where JonBenét's body was found.
So there seems to be, you have Hi-Tec right here, Hi-Tech right here. And what I had got hung up on is this area down here. I couldn't see it. I didn't, but there's apparently some sort of streak right there and some sort of streak right there.
And if you've been here for a minute, I've talked about shoes on here before. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, well, there seems to be a lot of it's almost like the logo or the wording is in this rectangle, right? Which there doesn't seem to be as much space. So then I started looking at different models of shoes. And there were a number of other models from men's as well as women's Hi-Tec boots that just don't seem to have a lot of space around the lettering and the logo. And I found tennis shoes that had this rectangle, so I just kept lettering and the logo. And I from men's as well as much space. So then I started with the wording.
Because there's a box around this as well.
Is in this rectangle, right? Which there doesn't seem to be as much space. So then I started looking at different models of shoes. And there were a number of other models from men's as well as women's Hi-Tec boots that just don't seem to have a lot of space around the lettering and the. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, well, there seems to be a lot of it's almost like the logo or the wording.
So it seems like it's close. It's close cut. I wanted to see if it's close cut. But then we see down here that it edges around. Okay, so it's
is in this rectangle, right? Which there doesn't seem to be as much space. So then I started looking at different models of shoes. And there were a number of other.
And so you can kind of see the edge around here.
Other models from men's as well as women's Hi-Tec boots that just don't seem to have a lot of space around the lettering and the logo. And I found tennis shoes that had this rectangle, so I just kept digging, even though this isn't a match to that other picture, since it still kind of looks like it has that, wing kind of pattern at the bottom. Right here, right? But then I stumbled upon this pair of Hi-Tec boots. The model style is called the Lady Shasta 2. And this came out in 1994, which to me, and no, I haven't looked at the original photo, obviously, but this just seems more in line with the print made in the basement, as seen here, versus these, which seem to have this tighter amount of space. Came out in 1994.
Because we can see that this is a square all the way around. But when we look back
on this pair of Hi-Tec boots, this wing kind of pattern at the bottom.
When we look here, obviously we see the wing, but if I can go back to the original.
There were 3 models of shoes that I could find and verify. The second was, I believe, the Children's Explorer, which came out in 96. But that was my house, and I spent a lot playing with the train set. Find and verify. And that's this style here, 96. But in Boulder, in the house, which 1992, because by 1990. And here's
Is this the picture?
Picture of the alleged print that was left in the wine cellar room near where JonBenét's body was found. And if you've been here for a minute, I've talked about shoes on here before. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, well, there seems to be a lot of it's almost like the logo, the wording is in this rectangle, right? Which there doesn't seem to be as much space. So then I started looking at different models of shoes. And there were a number of other models from men's as the logo, the wording is in.
As you can see, kind of like a tack looking pattern here. Of course, you see these cuts here. And you can
in this rectangle, right? Which there doesn't seem to be as much space. So then I started looking at different models of shoes.
So there's like the space, because I'm looking at what does this look like on the sides.
And there were a number of other models.
So I'm looking for there to be some sort of like tack, like this kind of pattern, stitch pattern.
For a minute, I've talked about shoes on here before.
I'm trying to see like what's around it, because I believe that this ending part,
well, there seems to be a lot of it's almost like the is in this rectangle, right? Which there doesn't seem to be as much space. So then I started looking at, and there were a number of other.
I believe that this part is this.
Other models from men's as well as women's high-tech boots that just don't seem to have a lot of space around the lettering.
But also too, like wherever they stepped, these had to be pretty worn down for this imprint to go in.
In the logo. And I found tennis shoes that had this rectangle.
Yeah, these had to be a little bit closer to the ground for that to imprint.
So I just kept digging, even though this isn't a match to that other picture, since it still kind of looks like it has like that, wing kind of pattern at the bottom. Like right here, right? But then I stumbled upon this pair of high-tech boots. The model style is called the Lady Shasta 2, and this came out in 1994, which to me, and no, I haven't looked at the original photo, obviously, but this just seems more in line with the print made in the basement, like as seen here, versus these, which seem to have this tighter amount of space.
So I mean, when we really look at this picture from like a wide view, you can see the Hi-Tec right here. Get a little closer. I'm trying to see which direction so you can see the stitches. The stitch pattern of some sort seems to be going. There's something that's cutting through right here. And I thought at first that right here, there was like a little footprint. Kind of right here. So once you zoom in, it kind of looks like it follows some sort of pattern with toes, like all the way around here. Some sort of foot pattern. And so this Hi-Tec facing that direction, going that way. So there's pretty good reason to believe that it's probably something to do with the family when we think about these, because again, you didn't see, even if you didn't match the shoes to the Ramseys, we don't know if those shoes were thrown out prior to anybody showing up. This article from Reuters was in August of 02, said JonBenét prints identified. Paper says marks were made by the brother, half sister. So unidentified palm prints and footprints near the body of JonBenét Ramsey were made by relatives of the girl and not by an intruder, the Rocky Mountain News reported today. Quoting an anonymous source, the newspaper said investigators have known for some time that the footprint found near the body of the 6-year-old girl actually belonged to her brother Burke, and that a palm print was left by her adult half sister Melinda, and that both prints were unrelated to the unsolved murder. So the police already know. Or investigators already knew that it was there, but they say it was unrelated to the murder. Not sure how true that is. The body of JonBenét, a former Little Miss Colorado, found unalived in the basement of the Boulder, Colorado home of her parents, John and Patsy Ramsey, on December 26, 1996. Boulder police publicly cleared Burke, who is now 15, of any involvement in her sister's unaliving and determined that Melinda Ramsey was not in Colorado at the time. Boulder Police Chief Mark Beckner said he would not confirm or deny any reports about specific evidence in the ongoing investigation. All I can say is there were a lot of questions in the course of the investigation, and some have been answered, some not, Beckner said. No one has been charged with the slaying. Grand jury probing the killing disbanded in October of 99 without returning an indictment. Lie. Although Boulder authorities say the girl's parents remain under the umbrella of suspicion, to which we know John and Patsy were quite upset with that term. Umbrella of suspicion. Patsy was like, what does that even mean? I mean, it still means we're still looking at you. John and Patsy Ramsey's lawyer, L. Lynn Wood, criticized the newspaper and the Boulder police for continuing a campaign of character assassination against his clients. You know, Lynn Wood seems like he wants to be the hero so bad. Wood said that his clients, who now live in suburban Atlanta, are innocent and were outraged by the article. You know, it's always some sort of over the top message coming from Lynn Wood. They were outraged. They were absolutely just floored, flabbergasted. A campaign of a campaign of character assassination. Sometimes I wonder if lawyers practice this stuff. Like, if they stand in the mirror and say, yeah, this campaign, I gotta say it, campaign. All right, that's a good one. Campaign of character assassination. And you are not going to mess with me and my clients. Okay. I wonder sometimes if lawyers do that. I don't have a problem with it. I'm just saying, like, it feels very much like this is what Lynn Wood is made of. Like, just a bunch of screaming and hollering about nonsense. It's like he lives for nothing but to say, I object. Unidentified DNA found in the girl's undergarments and under her fingernails, Wood said, are more significant clues to finding the killer, of course. We know that. Lou Smith, retired homicide detective, was brought into the case after the investigation stalled, but resigned because he believed John and Patsy were being unfairly targeted by authorities. Smith said the evidence he has seen still points toward an intruder. Burke Ramsey never had the type of shoes described, Smith said. What? As for the palm print, I don't know that it was ever matched to anyone. Someone is coming up with some bad information and better check their sources. A footprint found in JonBenét Ramsey's bedroom reportedly belonged to her older brother. He is not considered a suspect. Man, you know what I think? And I'm gonna end it there. You know what I think? I think Lou Smith was a nice guy. I really do. I think he was a nice guy. But I think sometimes when you come in contact with the Ramseys, it's always something. I got one more article that I wanted to show you that was interesting that a Reddit individual pulled out. And I was like, yo, that's kind of dope. So this Reddit user here, Klutzelk, Klutzek, here you go. Once again, that's Klutzelk, Klutzelk. Kind of brought up this article and said, hey, um, you should probably look. Let me see where she put it at this part in the article, reaching out to others. So I kind of clicked on it and scrolled down to it. Now, this is an article about God will just throw an angel into your life. This was written by a Rocky Mountain News staff writer in 2000, I believe. And just about the Ramseys, trying to comfort people. And so the point that she wanted to mention is quite interesting. She said, um, the writer writes, every new report of a child's death or kidnapping hits home for the Ramseys. When I hear about things like the little girl unalived in the classroom, I immediately think, how is the mother doing right now? Patsy said, and I relive that morning again every time. Patsy plans to write a note to the mother of a 6-year-old mission girl who died at the hand of another 6-year-old girl when that woman's pain is not so fresh. Kind words and notes of sympathy mean everything to someone who has lost a child, she says. We've gotten to know people. You always know when John is talking because he always does this. Like, there's people all over the world, people that love us, people that can't live without us, people who worship the ground we walk on, people who have said that you're the greatest. And I just want to tell you to your face that you're the greatest. I sent you a letter that you're the greatest, and now I'm here standing in front of the greatest person to ever live, and I just want to kiss your feet right now. Like, he always humble brags. We've got to know people since JonBenét. I was going to say, it sounds like a politician, but he did actually try to run for office. So there it is. We've gotten to know people since JonBenét who have lost children, John said, and that's been real helpful to us and to them too. Like, this vague stuff, like, gets on my nerves. Like, that's been real helpful to us and to them. That is so, like, freaking Hallmark cookie cutter language. It ticks me off, man. Stop talking like this. Talk like a real parent, man. He talks like a robot almost. It's like he just like has no feeling. Like, it's just like that, and that's been helpful to them and to us. He's talking like a pamphlet, like he's talking like he's man. Talk talk real for once. One woman's son died after he was struck in the head by another child as he stepped off the school bus. And the story was in the local news day after day. One day, Patsy decided to go to this woman's house. We sat and cried and we hugged each other. And later she told me that the day before I showed up, she had really been down. And she prayed for God to send her help. God sent me a grieving mother who would know how I felt, Patsy said. The woman told her, what do you say when someone says that to you, Patsy said. I had received so much comfort from her. Little things have taken on larger meaning for the Ramseys. The first summer they moved to Atlanta, Burke wanted to take a friend from school with the family for a week's vacation in Michigan. Parents actually allowed the kid to go, didn't really know these people. We never met the parents, John said, and we thought, well, this will be interesting to see if these parents will let their kid go with convicted child murderers, at least convicted in public. Stop saying stuff like that. And they said, great, of course he can go. Later, we got to know the parents, and we said, like, it's like you want us to know. Like, you stop pushing, okay, we get it. You're shrouded in this murder mystery of your daughter, but, like, my God, you don't have to, like, place that on every single person is what's happening here. Later, we got to know the parents, and we said, it was really meaningful to us that you allowed your son to go with us, knowing what you probably thought about us from the media. They didn't say anything, John. They didn't talk about that. But John has to check. John has to check their temperature because I want to know what you think about me. Like, I want to know if I'm turning the tide, right? Like, I need to know. Like, I can't just take your son and say, hey, I'm John. This is my wife, Patsy. We're going to Michigan my son seems to really enjoy your son. Wanting to know if they can come. Why? Why didn't y'all just have a conversation before y'all went out of town? Like, why would you? Why would you just take somebody's kid without meeting? You know, that's honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, the fact that you would want to take somebody's kid without meeting the parents is just for a week. Like, you don't even. Do you even know this kid? That you've never met their parents, and you said, "Hey, can your son come with us to Michigan for a week?" I mean, how long does it take to meet the parents? Like 30 minutes? You know what I mean? Just to come up and say, "Hey, I'm John. This is my wife, Patsy. Oh, Bob and Sarah. Sarah, nice to meet you. We're Burke's parents. We're getting ready to go on vacation." And Burke went, "How long is that? Like, it's 30 minutes to an hour. Are you too busy for 30 minutes to an hour? Sit down and get to know this man's parents." But you take him and come back later and be like, "Hey, so you trust us to not to, so you trust, so you trusted us not, you trusted us not to, I can't say that. You trusted us to keep your child safe. I'll say it like that. So you trusted us to keep your child safe, huh? Interesting. What did it? Why did you? I'm just curious. Why did you trust us to keep your child safe, knowing what you know about us in the media? Um, and they said, we never even thought about that. Never even thought about what? Stop lying. You never even thought about the fact that you're sitting face to face. Bruh, come on. Now I know y'all are bugging. You are sitting in the face of two people who dang near. It was a high possibility that they were going to be convicted. It's a discussion like their kid went missing in their own home and you didn't even think about your kid going away with theirs. They have a kid missing. Kid got kidnapped. And the body was found in the home. And you never said, "Hey, man," nothing came across your mind like, I mean, seem like nice people to me. I mean, you can be honest and just say, "Well, they seem like nice people to me, so I didn't even think about it." You lying. You're trying to be cool, trying to say, that's what you're trying to do. You're lying. We never even thought about that. We met you people and we said, there's no way. So you did think about it. It's insane. It never even crossed our minds that he couldn't or shouldn't go with you. That's a big deal, Patsy said. Little things like that mean a lot, John said. The point of me reading this, the Redditor made the point that it's funny that it's funny that Patsy found. I didn't find this. The Redditor found this. She's, well, I don't know if it's she. The individual said it's funny that Patsy found another mom who, or found a mom who had a child who was hit in the head by another child, knowing that these were the things surrounding your family. The obliviousness that exists, or the feigned obliviousness that exists in the head of the Ramseys, as if there is not a cloud of suspicion surrounding them, boggles me. My mind is just in shambles. I don't understand. I guess you have to. I guess you have to walk around and act like you did nothing. And even if you didn't do anything, I guess you have to walk around and act as if nothing's going on. No, we're not under suspicion at all. No. So it's perfectly understandable that you would send your kid with us. But This tells you just a little bit though, now doesn't it? It tells you, and I'll end with this. It tells you that all day, every day, the Ramseys' life, understandably, is consumed by this. Every person they see with kids for the rest of their life. As John said, man, I saw a little girl that looked like JonBenét the other day. For the rest of your life, you are going to be consumed by seeing little kids, doesn't matter, and saying, dang, it reminds me of JonBenét, reminds me of JonBenét, reminds me of JonBenét, all the time. Every single thing that you think about, you're going to be thinking about JonBenét all the time. Your life is now painted. The things that you see, the views, the things that you say, your perspectives are now driven in light of JonBenét and everything that happened. And that's an interesting shadow to live under. So anyways, that's the video. Let me know what you think. I also thought that was interesting. And again, I think it's just funny that some of this evidence is just floating around the house. Just floating. Don't know who it belongs to. Don't know whose it is. It's just laying around. You know, people just throw trash in our yard and we don't care. We're nice people. Just let them throw it. You know, I think that's funny. So like I said, let me know what you think. Like, share, subscribe, drop a comment. Thanks for your support. And until next time, take it easy.